All right, with that, sorry. Okay, now, we're ready. Okay, great. All right, well, we will call this meeting of the Grand Marais Planning Commission to order at 5:15. Today, our commissioners are all here, except for Brandon. Brandon is not here. We have our agenda before us, and with the minutes. Is there any changes to that? They were pretty quick. I would take a motion for that agenda.
A motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Great. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to our public hearings. We have two today. Does anybody, oh, Brandon is here. Great. So all our commissioners are here today. Is anybody here to make comment on the Martinson conditional use permit? Okay, you can come up here to the microphone right over there and state your name.
My name is Karen Bell, and Ted, my husband, we live right across the lot from where they want the variance. And I'd just like to say that I noticed in reading the application for the variance that Ryan commented on how expensive houses were in Grand Marais. And I think one reason houses are so expensive is because of all the short-term rentals that can inflate the price of houses. And I feel like we have enough short-term rentals in Grand Marais. And I don't feel like that really helps with the housing shortage. I feel like long-term rentals can help the housing shortage, but I don't think short-term rentals help at all. So I'm just opposed to the short-term rental condition for the house.
Gotcha.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Very nice people, though. I'd be glad to have them.
All right. Anyone else for the Martinson?
I agree. We're happy to have them as neighbors as soon as they build their place.
Okay.
So I believe it's in the best interest of the city and the local community between 3rd and 4th on 5th that the request for the variance be declined. The City of Grand Marais' own city council has identified the need for additional housing, for lower income housing, for diverse and affordable housing. Additional short-term housing does not help this problem and only removes additional opportunities for this piece of property. Additionally, the 5th Avenue between 3rd and 4th, there are no short-term housing up there. There is one long-term duplex, which we happen to own, and we own the house right across the street, so we're right uphill from where they're requesting this variance. Of the 7 houses, 5 of them are either retired or older couples. One is a duplex long-term rental, like I said, that we own, and one is a young family. There are no short-term rentals in our neighborhood. And personally, I'd love to see that kept from 3rd down. It seems like it's taken over that whole area, and I think that's part of the problem of the housing issues here. And so as much as we would like to have them neighbors, and as much as we would like to, and would be fine with a long-term rental as part of their property, we're opposed to short-term rentals.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Oh, by the way, my name's Ted Bell.
All right, great. Thank you for that. All right, very good. So, moving on. Brian, would you like to
I'll say that.
speak now?
So right now, the lot is basically empty that we're on, so there's just a garage there, there's no houses there, and I understand maybe your next door neighbors don't want us to do short-term rentals there, but I mean, the lot would be a house like for a family, and the numbers make the most sense to do short-term rentals. I mean, you can look at long-term versus short-term. Short-term brings in more. Look at the cost to build a house. It's going to be very expensive. Obviously, it doesn't feel great when your neighbors come in and yeah, but anyways, it's currently not used for anything. There will be a house that we're building there, and yeah, this is the best way that we see to make it happen. The numbers don't work for long-term for us.
Okay, all right, very good. Are you commenting about this?
I'm Kathleen Johnson.
Okay, sorry.
I have met Ryan and Mamaji. And I too feel they would be great neighbors. I was surprised after you came to my door and talked about a rental, that the next day I read in the Grand Marais News Herald that there would be 3.
The bottom floor, yeah.
3 besides you on the main floor?
Three rooms on the bottom floor, so it'd be 1,200 square feet on the top where we'd live with our kids in the future, and then 3 rooms on the bottom, each about 400 square feet.
Okay, but for 3 separate rentals?
Yeah, on the bottom floor, yep.
Okay. I came away from our conversation thinking there would be 1. Is there parking?
Yeah, there's plenty of parking.
Okay. And these are going to be short-term? Okay.
Yeah.
I put
All
a
right.
little different spin on it from what I had understood when I talked to you before. That's all.
Would you like to grab a mini packet? There's some written information and maps in there that might help.
Yeah.
You can take mine if I can.
All right, anything more you'd like to add, Ryan, before we go to commissioners?
Machi, do you want to say anything?
I guess I'll add that we are very excited to be moving into Grand Marais, and as a, young couple, young family, I just finished graduate school, and Ryan's, working on software, and financially, this is the only way we see it to be able to be an opportunity for us to be able to move into Grand Marais. So we're really hoping that we can have this opportunity to have this be our home for our family, and for us, it's also a downsize of really limiting the amount of space that we can live on so that we can be here in Grand Marais. So we're just trying to find a way to make it work.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Commissioners, you have questions?
Oh, I think my dad would like to say something too.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Martins.
One comment. Yeah, I do understand, some concern from the neighbors, but what it probably ultimately comes down to is the zoning. I believe it's resort commercial. Of course, you have a laundromat right in that area, courthouse close, some other, rental, units too. Maybe they're, long-term, but the zoning does allow it. A lot of the zoning, of course, would prohibit something like this in Grand Marais. That's all.
Okay, thanks, Chris. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I was just wondering, once a variance is
It would be good if you could come to the microphone so we have that recorded.
I was just wondering, once a variance is approved for a house, does that carry over for when they sell the house to the next inhabitants, or does it have to come up again?
No, it will stay with the house.
Well, it depends.
Yeah.
So this is a conditional use permit, not a variance.
Sorry.
And the conditional use permit's approved with the information that's included in their application. And sometimes there can be a condition that's attached to a permit like that
Okay.
that says if it's sold, a new owner would have to get their own permit. So it's not, there isn't a absolute yes or no. It's up to the board to decide.
Oh, okay. And will you decide that at this point, or is that another?
That would go on.
We could choose, if we approve the conditional use permit, to attach that to it.
Okay.
Or if we didn't do that, that's something the city council, when they, again, if it moves through here, then the council could have that option too, if we chose not to,
Okay, thank you.
so.
Yep. Thanks. All right. So now, commissioners, do we have questions for our guests here?
Why do you always look at me like I want Brandon, you can go first, we'll work this way.
Yeah, come on, Brandon, we'll just work that way
Yep,
down.
instead of the other way.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit torn. I want young couples who want to have kids in this town to move in. It is already zoned as a resort commercial area. There's no building currently there, so they would be adding to the town rather than simply taking an existing building and making that short-term rental. But I also agree with the other residents that I would greatly prefer it to be long-term. So that's where I'm at so far. And there's no way to do what you plan on doing as long-term rentals.
It seems like most of the builders here doing long-term are getting some tax abatements and incentive grants from like IRR, and they're building at a bigger scale too, you know? I mean, when you build bigger, there's economies of scale. I mean, the numbers are much harder to make work smaller, and particularly than big.
Right. I was just thinking, you know, with the short terms, you know, you're having to repeat a lot of infrastructure, which is expensive. But you would also be making more theoretically, so. I don't know, I'm still mulling it over. Does anyone else have anything?
I agree with you, yes. I have been maybe more hesitant on short-term rentals in previous discussions, but I recognize that we didn't change this district, this resort commercial, when we changed some other districts. We left this one this way for a reason. And part of it is that there are some short-term rentals on that street out there already.
Right.
So that there's the pro of why it should be approved. And actually, when I read through this packet over the weekend, I was thinking, here's a young couple wanting to move here, have a family, that's great. And they're doing like my great-grandparents and great-uncles did, because they came up here to fish or log, and what did they do? They put up a little building so they could rent it out so they could afford to live here. That's exactly what I thought when I read this, so I understand what it costs to build or buy anything here in Cook County right now, and it's very unfortunate. So I applaud you for coming up with an idea to, maybe this could work, so. But I agree, I'm torn also, so I'll let everybody else say something.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Ben?
Yeah, well, I'm not torn at all. This is a small business in a resort commercial district, and it's an allowed use, and I understand, of course, that it's difficult when you're living somewhere and something else happens, but that's the zone, right? And he meets the parking requirements. There's clearly up and down that street other enterprises similar to this, and so I think if I'm just looking at that and what the land is designed and how the zone is designed, I don't have any issue with it.
All right, thanks, Ben.
Yeah, I think if I look back at some of the decisions that we've made on Fifth Avenue West, where there were properties that were single-family homes that were converted to 100% to short-term rental simply because it is a conditional use that's allowed in the zone district. I don't see any reason why it can't happen or shouldn't happen. I think that yeah, I mean, again, if it was a variance, right, that we were asking for to allow short-term rentals in a zone district that it's not allowed in, then I would be a wholehearted no for the reasons that you guys talked about and why we have our zones written the way we have them to limit short-term rentals into very specific areas. This is one of those areas. I mean, I would imagine that the property is also sold at a different value, knowing that it could be turned into, I do like the idea of attaching the conditional use permit to ownership, to the Martinsons. And so that it doesn't pass along, you know, if you guys decide to sell it, doesn't mean that it wouldn't, the next people that want to buy the property couldn't also get a conditional use permit, but I don't want to necessarily lock it in.
Yeah.
Right now. I think the idea of full-time residents being on the site where you are doing short-term rental is a whole different thing too. I think that's important as far as like what happens with the neighbors. I mean, if you're living there in the house and the only way you're able to live here, right, this is full-time residence for you?
Yes.
Right, you
correct.
guys are making the move, right? That's
Yep, yeah,
okay.
we're here.
So, that's different than an absentee type of situation where you have multiple vacation rentals happening and nobody on site. I mean, you'll be on premises, basically. Then I assume if somebody's bothering you, they're gonna bother you before they bother the neighbors as far as noise and all that kind of stuff. Again, I think the way that our zone districts are written, it being a conditional use, I'm just fine with it, what they've put together.
Yeah, thanks, Anton. You know, I was thinking back to what Stacy was saying, you know, that was a way that people made it work in the day, you know, was to have, well, an ADU essentially on their property to make things work. So again, I'm also inclined to approve it on that basis, to have another family up here. And I would make that motion, actually, with the stipulation, as Anton presented, that on the sale of this property, that the conditional use permit would go away and the next owners would have to reapply. But that doesn't affect you so much.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, the ayes have it. This will go before the city council next week, yeah? Next week?
Next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, sorry, yes.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you. And now, I believe we've gotten through everybody else, so we are on to looking at the Angry Trout request for variance, and as I'm sure most of us are aware, the reason they need the variance is because most of that property is within what we believe to be the vegetation line. So anytime they're doing anything, it seems like we've got to have a variance. Just in looking at it, I'm sure you guys are well aware where it is and what it looks like and all that kind of stuff. I couldn't see any, they're just kind of adding on to what is there. There doesn't seem to be a great extension of anything, so to my eyes, it seemed pretty clear. But any commissioners have any other thoughts?
I didn't have any issues with this one.
I'd make a motion to approve the noise variance request.
Second.
Motion and a second. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Elliot. All right. Seeing there is no more business, unless there is some business? Nope. All right.
Were we discussing something I know I missed a few meetings, but
Yeah,
I thought we were talking through garbage and or ordinances.
Oh my God,
and
that's like so, I think that, no.
did we ever finish all that work?
I wouldn't say finish, no.
Okay.
We did.
Is it
this.
ever
We
finished?
took actions, but I don't know that I'd say we're done with that conversation.
And are you talking like downtown in the alleys?
Yeah,
and
we
that
were
kind of thing?
talking.
Yeah, but
We had that list
I
of
think that
priorities
one we
and-
did finish.
Okay.
Okay.
We
yeah.
had a list of priority
Yeah, 'cause
things that
were they
we
gonna
were
be-
gonna
was there
work
gonna be a
on. One
barrier
was
or-
the
yeah.
fill.
Yeah. Oh, no, don't say Phil.
Yeah.
We're not.
And I'm
we're
just-
not-
That Phil this other day.
Well,
Right, guy.
I think I would add that, just in having we had another meeting on a separate issue today, but
Oh.
we're talking about city council and talking about some priorities and goals for next year, and so that might, something could come up, where we would want to relook at priorities and maybe.
Okay. So you're going to talk about it and direct us what we should be
It
working
seems like
on?
that's been the case in the
Okay.
past, and I don't know if that's going to continue, but
Okay.
it can.
Yeah, anything specific? I mean, no.
No, I mean, from last time
No, but from what, earlier today, what was?
no, that was it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, unrelated, right.
Got it. Very good, very good. All right. Then I will call us to adjourn.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thank you.